testing juniors and intermediate developers, what you're looking for when you're interviewing them?
The good answers are, I don't know, but I think it works like this. There are parts that cannot be automated by AI. Stakeholder arrives and asks you what AI can accomplish with that.
One overrated skill or technology?
Soccer and memory management.
Let's zoom into that transition from mid-level to senior. What was the moment when you realized, hey, I'm a senior now?
Well, that came with the first project that I had to complete as the senior. Our team lead has moved on and found a different job, and I had to step up and sort of lead the team of developers to complete the next project. And it was a real tough one where, there was a growth in terms of responsibility that I had to take, the sense of ownership, the communication within the engineers, the planning, the architecture, the delegation of tasks, the prioritization of what's next. And these are things that you don't usually think about when you first lead your project, but that's the, I guess, harsh reality that I had to face with. And after the project was done, and after looking back at what I have accomplished, I realized, well, this was a real test for me, and I've proven myself to be a senior engineer. So it was not a promotion to the senior engineer that gave me that sense of, I guess, accomplishment of feeling, but the actual work that I've done.
I experienced this same theme with many promotions. First, you're kind of being tested with your soft and hard skills. And then you actually get that promotion. I think that's actually the best path to understand if you're actually ready for that.
It depends from company to company what like the senior means, right? Different levels and different expectations, I would say. In my experience, I would tick off some of the acceptance criteria for being senior, got promoted, then got handed this opportunity, and only after that mental transition happened for me.
So now as a senior engineer, you're much more involved into the hiring process. Can you tell me how are you usually testing juniors and intermediate developers, and what you're looking for when you're interviewing them?
It depends on what are we looking for, and maybe we're replacing someone or we're hiring a new workforce for a new opportunity. In general, for juniors, I'm looking for some good theoretical knowledge of building projects, the programming language, some perhaps basic architecture questions, database, front-end, back-end, and the passion to learn, to build, and to grow. I do not expect them to answer like every question, and I'm more curious to see how they behave when something goes wrong and they face the question that they do not know the answer to. That's the interesting part, and how they adapt to it. The bad answers are like, I don't know, and they shut off. The good answers are, I don't know, but I think it works like this, and I can chase their thought process, and that goes a long way. And this is actually what we expect from the junior engineers, right? We don't expect you to know all, but we expect to gain knowledge, adapt, and be passionate about software engineering. For the medium engineers, it's slightly different. I expect some level of seniority, experience in building projects, experience in cross-functional collaboration with other teams, QA, DevOps, other engineers, experience delivering certain projects from the beginning to end, some level of expertise and experience in building the architecture, driving decisions, certain decisions behind the architecture and the solutions of the systems that you've built. And I expect strong knowledge of the framework that you work with. You have to be well versed in the stack.
Okay, and what's the coolest project you've gotten to lead or contribute to as a senior engineer?
For, I guess, the broader audience, I think my work in my previous company, I was part of the SRE team, that stands for Software Reliability Engineering. That was the position that sort of stand out for me in my career. We dealt with internal infrastructure tooling in the big company with the internal platform that we use. We troubleshooted different engineering issues like caching issues, some internal tracing, building logging platform, and so on and so forth. That was really unusual and required out-of-box thinking and lots of adjustments that I had to make in terms of how I think about my work. And it took, I would say, like almost a year to get adjusted to the type of work that I'm doing, because that was way different from the regular software engineering experience that you have in most companies.
Zooming out a bit, what's your take on where the tech and architectural trends are heading?
I would say perhaps the premise of the question is incorrect. I cannot say that the architecture trends are moving this way or the other way. The architecture is just like the language frameworks. They're just the tools to accomplish certain things. So it's not that one size fits all. When I started my career, the big thing was the microservice architecture. The first company that evolved into using that was Netflix. People started to, incorporate that infrastructure and trying to mimic their success. But after years, people realized all of the burdens and the complexities and that comes with that sort of approach. And when the dust have settled, I think now is, more level-headed about going into microservices architecture. I would say perhaps modular monoliths is the architecture that people are building nowadays. Another thing that I cannot just go by is, of course, the influence of artificial intelligence. Everyone speaks of it right now, and this is the hot topic nowadays, I think, in all software companies.
Before we jump into the next hot topic, if you're enjoying this conversation, subscribe and hit the like button. It helps us reach more professionals and grow this community. Speaking of AI, what's one tool do you actually use on a daily basis?
There is no AI tool that I use on a daily basis. I would say I use one weekly, maybe, depends on the project I'm working on, and it's Codex. That's the AI tool that helps me structurize and understand the code base and gives me the quick summarize and assumptions about the code, the structure, and the improvements that can be done. I take it with a grain of salt and do verify it. Also, I've used Copilot to build integration tests and unit tests, and there was I would say a limited success, and it had some uses, but it doesn't perform, at least right now, at the level that I would like it to. So there's, I would say, a long way to go for the AI tools.
Given that AI exponentially increases adaptation of automation across all industries, what would you say is the last thing that will be automated in software development specifically?
There are parts that cannot be automated by AI, at least at the level of the AI that we have now. For example, the part that I'm curious about that I don't think can be automated is, imagine that stakeholder arrives and asks you, we need this integration with third-party tool, or migration from one database to another, and your job is to translate that business requirement into technical requirements. Understand, first of all, what needs to be done, what's the scope, what's affected, what are the edge cases, what we need to consider, what's the prioritization, are there any unknowns, what technology do we use, what architecture, are there any blockers, assess the risks, etc., etc. So there are lots of things that needs to be done before the actual code writing begins. That's, I would say, the most difficult part of the software engineering in general. I don't see how AI can automate that. Now, it can help you to be more productive in this task, but I don't think software engineer, the work he does in that area, will be replaced.
That's an interesting take, because honestly, when you about to start a project, there is so much context you have to analyze. To do that for the LLMs at the level we see them today would simply take too much money, and I doubt it would still produce decent results.
I guess it's more about the form that data lives in. Part of it is in the code base, part of it in the comments, part of it in the documentation, part of it in the, as you've said, knowledge in people's head. Once I think that data can be put in a meaningful manner and can be interpreted easily by AI, something can happen. I'm curious what AI can accomplish with that. But just the effort to gather all the data is what we do, and understanding what data we need to get and to compile. That's complicated.
Right.
No way I can do that nowadays, at least.
Okay, we've covered a lot, but is there a topic you can genuinely talk about for hours that we didn't get to?
Soccer and .NET memory management.
.NET memory management is a pretty advanced topic. Can you talk about your last case when you had to use this deep knowledge of the framework when it actually helped you to debug something?
To be honest, I did not expect that this knowledge would be useful, but it came useful when I was part of the SRE team in my previous company. I had to troubleshoot the memory leakage problem, and my knowledge into .NET memory management, garbage collection, and the way to analyze it really helped me to understand what's going on way faster. I've read lots of information. I read a book about it before, and once I got to this problem, I knew exactly what I was looking at, and that helped me troubleshoot and figure out what are the pain points and what are the main suspects for the memory leakage.
Was there like a specific tool or approach that you've applied in that case?
You can get application memory snapshot at any given time. And once you get that snapshot, I use the application called .memory. You load that dump file.
Right.
It processes it and presents you with like different dashboards where like lots of information about the garbage collection is shown. And you have to understand the concepts of the memory management, the garbage collection, to understand really what you're looking at. And there are lots of data, and looking at it, drilling down some bits of information helped me figure out what's going on.
To wrap things up, let's end with a couple of practical questions. What's one overrated skill or technology in software engineering today?
I think it's over-engineering or giving complex answers to simple questions or simple asks, where people sometimes, just because they can, tend to overthink or over-engineer certain solutions where the answer of the design can be much simpler. And at the end of the day, I don't believe that any tool can be overrated. It all comes down to the application. The tools are designed to solve the problems. 99% of the time you might not need that tool, but that 1%, that tool will be perfect for your tasks.
For junior engineers listening, what 3 pieces of advice you have them that you think can move their careers forward?
The first thing would be, do not get overwhelmed by things that you don't know and the amount of knowledge that you have to gain. It's a steep learning curve, to be honest. And take it step by step. The more you learn, the more you will realize how much you don't know. And it can get overwhelming, especially at the beginning, so don't be afraid of it. The second would be, do not get discouraged or disappointed with the feedback that you receive from the more senior engineers. Take it as the learning opportunity. Sometimes, on the PRs, the feedback can seem harsh or like unnecessary, but this is a learning opportunity and you can take advantage of that. Ask questions there, perhaps challenge it in a respectful way, but do not get discouraged. This is not a critique of you. This is the critique of your work, and this is the chance for you to improve. And number 3 is, I would repeat myself, what I've said before. Do not be afraid to speak up and raise your voice when you don't understand something. Ask questions. My job is to help you. Usually we get buddies assigned, like a middle or senior engineers for juniors, to help them out. And I want you to ask as many questions as possible. Not too many, but just be curious. I'm here to help you learn, and you are more than welcome to challenge my perspective on how I do things, and I learn with you as well. Sometimes juniors bring different concepts, new worldview, and that challenges what I've been, working on, and like the hard engraved truths in my mind, they are getting challenged, and I have to think out of the box and adapt. Maybe there are some excellent suggestions from juniors, so don't be afraid, speak up. We welcome the discussions, and that's what I always try to foster in the teams and companies that I work for, that this is an open discussions. Any opinion can be challenged and can be brought up to discussion.
And finally, looking ahead, do you see yourself moving towards the staff architect path or the engineering leadership path?
Both opportunities sound lucrative. I would say that they differ a lot in what the expectations and the skills that you need to bring to the table. I am leaning more towards the team lead. I've had past experience with as being a team lead, not formal, and I've enjoyed it. And it would be interesting, to take that as an actual position and all the challenges that come with it. And the good thing about that is you can always pivot. I've seen people who are, they choose to become architect or the team lead. They realize that, okay, this is not my thing. Perhaps I can try something else. There's always a way to adjust your path forward.
All right. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it, and I enjoyed our conversation a lot.
Thank you so much for having me. I hope I've been useful.
I'm sure you did.
Thank you.